Yo family, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video on the channel. I know 2 in 2 days, what the hell is going on? Well, Bungie are actually releasing a lot of information at the moment. Yesterday they released a big article with some massive changes coming for PvP specifically, but today they have released the twid and it has a ton of information about weapon buffs, about exotic buffs, and some other stuff within it as well, even making things like the Darcy actually useful now. No, I'm not joking, that's not a meme. Darcy is actually going to be a good weapon with these buffs that are coming. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown of everything today because there is an absolute ton of information. The links to both articles I'm referring to will be both in the pinned comment to check them out in full. But I'm going to call out some of the really important information or things that I think are about to become meta that you guys need to know about. So don't worry, I've got you covered. Let's get into the video. So first things first, if you care, super important news, there is actually going to be a developer live stream to preview what is going to go on in Heresy Act 1. That is going to be going live on January the 28th at 10 AM Pacific time. So that is next Tuesday. And then to start off this article, I was actually pretty worried with what they had to say. So they wanted to talk about their content delivery plans for Heresy. What I mean by that, if you've not really been keeping up to date with the game, is whenever we've had seasonal or episode or content, they've always broke things down and time gated everything week by week so that obviously the story beats, the new ones came around that every Tuesday's reset. Now recently what they've done is let you have access to everything. The start of an act, you can do it all within the first hour of it going live. But I don't know, people didn't like it the old way, people don't like it the new way. Apparently everything is going to be vastly different when we get Codename Frontiers in summer, so obviously it's kind of, you know, irrelevant at this point. So what they basically said is that they wanted to share that Heresy is going to go back to the weekly content and story delivery. They understand the concerns about returning to that approach, but they've learned a lot from the all-in format from Revenant. So essentially what they're saying is they're trying to find a middle ground between the two, so they're not giving us access to everything when the act of the new episode goes live, but they're also not going to completely timegate everything. So what they've said is that each week as well there'll be a new seasonal challenge that rewards a new tier of seasonal weapons which belong to the heretical arsenal, which they're going to show us in the live stream on Tuesday. Without stepping into spoiler territory, they can also tell us that Heresy won't rely on a fixed length for each act like the previous episodes. For example, Act 2 will last 3 weeks instead of the standard 5 or 6. Additionally, all reprised weapons for the episode will be available at launch, whilst all of the second half of the episodic weapons will be available when Act 2 launches. Their goal is to tell a satisfying and exciting story that both serves as an epilogue to the Light and Darkness saga and that helps pave the way for what's to come with Codename Frontiers later this year. So at this point, I don't really know what I prefer, guys. I don't know if I like having everything on day one, and I don't particularly like time gating week by week for story beats, so I'm not really sure, honestly. I just hope that Codename Frontiers is vastly different, because after all the years of seasonal content and now this episodal content being the same, if not worse, I'm just ready for something fresh. Maybe I'm being naive and thinking that that's going to happen, but we'll see what it does. But let me know what you think on that down in the comments below. So moving on from there, we have exotic armor changes for all 3 classes. Now there are some that I'm going to skip ahead through, but Gwizinvest or Gwizinvest, however that's said, the one that works with spectral blades for the hunter. With the recent Roman super changes, we decided to give this exotic a bit of tuning to let it shine in its role, as well as giving it some utility outside of the super. It now progresses its super returns on super hits, as well as kills before becoming invisible. Improve the maximum possible super energy gains per return, whilst also increasing the number and amount of progress needed for maximum gains. Now also emits a cloud of weakening smoke when you exit invisibility whilst near by an enemy. Works in both neutral and while in super. Now, I don't exactly know how that's going to play out in game, guys, but obviously when I play Hunter and I'm doing GMs and helping people go through GMs and stuff, I always use the Omnioculus chest piece. Now, this with the new aspect, which is coming as well, seems like it might be a pretty viable option. Don't know, on paper it seems like it might be, but I'm pretty excited to try this one out. So, Renewal Grasps, now that Frost Armor as a new verb is settled in the sandbox, they've now said that Renewal Grasps can safely be more generous with it, so you're going to get double the rate of Frost Armor gain whilst in the enhanced Duskfield Grenade. Foe Tracer is actually getting a duration increase to the amount of time it can carry its bonus weapon damage. This is going to be increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So again, a pretty strong option there. And these changes will also apply to the exotic class item relativism as well. So if you have Spirit of the Foe Tracer, the change to the duration is actually going to be on the actual class item as well, which is pretty cool. In terms of nerfs for the Hunter though, relativism for Spirit of Galanor, basically what they're saying is you are able to get your supers back or high damage supers back too quickly now with the Roman changes, though they are making changes to reduce the maximum amount of energy refunded for Silk Strike and Golden Gun down to 30% from 50%. Again, that is a pretty large chunk of nerf, but we'll see how that plays out in game, but there is definitely a nerf there to the Hunter cloaks. For Titans, Eternal Warrior is about to become absolutely meta again, in my opinion. So they want it to be appealing in both PvP and PvE. So essentially guys, Eternal Warrior is about to become the Arc version of the Doomfang Pauldrons, because now final blows with Fists of Havoc will grant extended super duration. So the final blows that you're getting with your Fist of Havoc super, they're going to keep that super going even longer as the Doomfangs do, which is pretty exciting considering we are heading for an Arc focused season. They're also going to be taking another pass at Kepri's Horn, so this is now going to become a little bit more like a Drengar / Barricade, obviously in its solar form. So now it's going to send out 3 waves of flame instead of just 1, but these waves will no longer bounce backwards and forwards between the barricade, they will only travel outwards once. Tracking on the waves has been enhanced, and combatants damaged by the waves are enveloped in a sunspot. Players are also enveloped if they are defeated. Some changes are also being made to an insurmountable Skull Fort. They say as difficulty goes up, Skull Fort can feel overly punishing when you fail to land the final blow its perk demands. To alleviate the issue, we are extending its effect to grant partial refunds from any melee attack to help rebuild that crucial momentum. Now grants energy to arc melee abilities when hitting targets with any melee attack. Amount granted varies based on the melee used. From most to least energy granted will go powered melees, non-glaive unpowered melees whilst knockout is active, and unpowered melees including glaives. For the Warlock, Storm Dancer's Brace will see some buffs. It says much like Spirit of Galanor, we wanted to tune back how much refunded energy was given for Roman supers via exotics. To compensate, we wanted to give Storm Dancer's Brace a little love in the potency granted to it. So they've doubled the damage benefit per stack of Ascending Amplitude up to 20% per stack from 10%. Now it also reduces the cost of Ionic Blink during the super by 50%, and they've reduced the maximum amount of energy refunded to 30% down from 50%. So it's getting a little bit less energy refunded, but it is also getting increased damage. They're also once again tinkering with the Geomag stabilizers, so they said part of the charm of Geomags was lost when sprinting to get super was removed due to it being crazy in PvP. With the introduction of the new bulk charge verb to the Arc kit, there was an opportunity to bring this experience back without breaking PvP. So they've added a new perk, sprinting while near max bulk charge will top it off, starts at 6 stacks of bulk charge, re-enabled VFX where boot spark while sprinting near max bulk charge, and they've increased the super energy gain from Ionic Traces from 2% up to 7%. There's also going to be a slight nerf to Speaker's Sight in the fact that now it will not continue just to toss the healing bubbles at your teammates unless they have damage to their shields. So Healing Turret no longer targets allies at full health. Allies need some damage done to their shields to be eligible targets. We then have some weapon archetype and subfamily PvE tuning. So scout rifles are going to get a flat 15% buff versus miners and 30% versus mages. That is definitely going to make for some spicy scout rifle gameplay. Auto rifles are getting a flat 10% versus miners and mages. SMGs are getting a plus 5% versus miners, and of course they have just done a 10 to 15% magazine size increase as well. Race rifles are getting 20% buff versus miners, and linear fusion rifles are getting 10% versus all combatants. Rocket assisted frame sidearms, so your Indebted Kindness, your Tenacious Mastery and all of that are going to be receiving some reworks as well. Now they've already had a nerf to their magazine size, but they've basically said that they are too strong and too easy to use. So they will be reducing the PvE detonation damage by 40%, or increasing the PvE impact damage by 100%. They're reducing the aim assist fall off and maximum distance by 8 meters, and the magnetism fall off and maximum distance by 8 meters as well. They're also reducing their damage by 30% versus bosses, vehicle and mini boss targets. Buried Bloodline's body shot damage is unaffected though, critical hit damage will be buffed by 8%. The range stat was vestigial to the weapon subfamily, so they've removed it, and range masterworks and enhanced intrinsics will be replaced with something more appropriate. So they are taking quite a large hit there, guys, but I wouldn't be too quick to throw them in the trash can. I still think they're going to be very good, but obviously there are some pretty sizable changes coming to them. Now, I mentioned Darcy at the start of the video, and it wasn't a meme as I said it wasn't. Darcy is about to become the sniper rifle version of the Galahorn. This is going to see it increase damage for weapons for your teammates, but also getting a buff for yourself. So they've added a new catalyst perk called Networked Targeting. Hits with personal assistant active grant you and nearby allies improved overall weapon performance and precision damage with non-exotic sniper rifles. Improves recoil, flinch, target acquisition, handling and precision damage, and stacks up to 5 times. Darcy also gets the buff itself. The Darcy user also gets plus 15% damage after granting 5 stacks to a teammate. So if there are any damage phases which have a decent period of time to land sniper rifle shots, guys, you're going to want one of your teammates rocking Darcy and the rest of you rocking your favorite legendaries. That is going to get all this buffs going on as Galahorn does for rocket launchers. And honestly, I know this doesn't sound super exciting on paper, but I actually think Darcy could end up being very, very good. Now, we're also seeing some more additional changes. I don't know how many passes they've made of these, but the exotic glaives are all getting some additional love as well. So all class exotic glaives, special shot is no longer tied to glaive energy, now triggered on 6 weapon hits which allow the special reload, increments off both shots and melee hits as well. So Edge of Concurrence is getting jolting feedback added to its intrinsic perk, Edge of Action is getting destabilizing rounds added to its intrinsic perk, and Edge of Intent is getting incandescent added to it. We then have some changes coming both for Cloud Strike and Thunderlord, which I think probably a lot of people saw coming when we saw the new aspects and the new verb being added to the game. So they're both essentially going to be having the Bolt Charge new verb worked into their perks. So for Cloud Strike, they've added behavior to the Stormbringer perk. Rapid precision hits create a lightning storm at the point of impact and grants a stack of Bolt Charge. And they've added behavior to Mortal Polarity perk. Precision final blows generate a lightning bolt at the target's location and grants a moderate amount of Bolt Charge. For Thunderlord, added behavior to Rain Havoc perk. Final blows with this weapon generate lightning strikes from above. Lightning strikes grant a stack of Bolt Charge, strong against Overload champions. And then finally, guys, to round out the video today, they have actually let us know, despite the fact that there has been some talk about it already. Yesterday, they announced some of the trials weapons that are coming with the PvP rework, so they have let us know the playlist weapons that we can expect and the perks available in the columns coming for Heresy. So for Nightfalls, we have the final one for the set in Lotus Eater, a Void rocket assisted sidearm. In the first column, you're going to have Strategist, Feeding Frenzy, Well-Rounded, Shoot to Loot, Beacon Rounds, and Reconstruction. And then in the second column, One for All, a redacted new perk, High Ground, Reverberation, Frenzy, Adrenaline Junkie. Then the fan favorite Palindrome, of course, is returning as Arc Adaptive Hand Cannon. Third column, we have Closing Time, Elemental Capacitor, Explosive Payload, a redacted perk, Outlaw, and To the Pain. And in the fourth column, we have Magnificent Howl, Snapshot Sights, Master of Arms. I'm not sure if that's a typo, but that's actually pretty crazy if that's the case. I don't think, has that ever been on a weapon other than Recluse or an SMG? I don't think it has. Maybe let me know down in the comments below if I'm wrong, but seeing Master of Arms on a hand cannon is pretty wild. And it also comes with Opening Shot, another redacted perk, and Desperate Measures. For Vanguard Ops, we have Cynosia, a Strand aggressive rocket launcher with Reconstruction, Envious Arsenal, Slice, Demolitionist, Field Prep, Tracking Module, Sympathetic Arsenal, Impulse Amplifier, Ambitious Assassin, Discord, Danger Zone, and Overflow. And then for the other column, Chain Reaction, Explosive Light, Bipod, Cluster Bomb, Quick Draw, Lasting Impression, Adrenaline Junkie, Reverberation, Desperate Measures, High Ground, and Hatchling. So again, with those massive playlist weapon perk lists, obviously that has pretty much every rocket combination on it you could want. So hopefully that might be quite good. Gambit, we have Backfang and Arc Rapid Fire Glaive. With Impulse Amplifier, Beacon Rounds, a redacted perk, Grave Robber, Immovable Object, Tilting at Windmills, Shot Swap, Steady Hands, Replenishing Aegis, Field Prep, Lead from Gold, and Mulligan. And then in the second column, Vault Shot, a redacted perk, Swashbuckler, Surrounded, Unrelenting, Wellspring, Vorpal Weapon, Unstoppable Force, Close to Melee, Desperate Measures, Adagio, and Adrenaline Junkie. And then finally for the Crucible, we have the Jox's Longsword, which is a Void Heavy Burst Pulse Rifle. In the first column, we have Closing Time, Demolitionist, Dragonfly, Killing Wind, Gutshot Straight, Lone Wolf, Pugilist, Enlightened Action, Rewind Rounds, Repulsor Brace, Strategist, and Shoot to Loot. And then in the second column, Adrenaline Junkie, Desperado, Desperate Measures, Destabilizing Rounds, Withering Gaze, Head Seeker, High Impact Reserves, Under Pressure, One for All, Swashbuckler, a redacted perk, and Zen Moment. So some pretty interesting ones in there, guys. I for one cannot wait to get my hands on a palindrome. I never ever got a good roll when they were around the last time, so I will definitely be grinding out to make sure that I get one this time. Finally, just another note about some weapons leaving. So Undercurrent, the Waveframe grenade launcher, is last week is going to be the 28th of January, which is going to be next week. So that is going to be your last opportunity to get that before it goes away for a while. The Prophet will also be leaving next week from Trials of Osiris, and Briswalker and Lethal Abundance will both be leaving when Iron Banner ends this week. So that's everything, guys. I have tried to keep everything as short as I can whilst also covering the really important things. I will let you know that I did miss out a few exotic weapons and a few exotic armor changes that were within it, but like I said, I've pinned down below the comment if you want to read that in full. Some people don't like to do that, and thus this video, but obviously you can go ahead and read that if you want to. Let me know your thoughts about everything what I've discussed in the video today, guys. Thank you as always for your support if you've watched to the end of the video, and I'll hopefully catch you in the next one. Bye bye.